we have a big fight coming up tomorrow.
Oh, I like a good fight.
A good boxing match. But is it a real boxing match? That's the question. We got the great Mike Tyson going up against Jake Paul tomorrow, November 15th. Netflix. It's going to be big. They had a press conference today. Jake Paul accused Mike Tyson of being boring because he's not talking the yin-yang that he usually talks. But one thing I liked about this that I've seen about Mike Tyson, he's been very serious. He was on TMZ this week, and he seems like he's all business. Mike Tyson is 58 years old. I think Jake Paul's like 26, 27, something like that. So he's got him by a good amount of years, right? But he seems like this is business. Now, I got to admit, I really didn't think that this was real going into this. They shortened the rounds, right? So I think the rounds are only 2 minutes, which I believe is going to favor Mike. Because Mike might be 58, but as we all know, ain't none of us still want to get punched by 58-year-old Mike Tyson because we know that would be lights out, right? So while Jake is saying that he's being boring and he's not really because he wants to promote more of the fight, Mike is seeming like he's all about business and he's basically saying he's going to rip his head off, right? So do you think, my question to you is, do you think that this fight is going to be real? I'm happy that it's really happening, but do you think that Mike is really going into this fight in order to rip his head off and win this fight? Or do you think that this is strictly about entertainment? And what do you think the outcome is going to be?
Man, I have to move my way of thinking to what the possible outcome will be, because I'm so trapped inside of the idea that I hate the idea of the fight to begin with. I don't like it. I don't like and I like Jake Paul. I like what he's doing. I've never been a hater about him or his brother. I think that he does take boxing serious. And folks, kind of got on him saying, oh, he hasn't fought anyone. This is earlier in his career. Well, and I would often counter that argument. Well, what the hell is he supposed to do? He's just starting out. But I do believe he takes it serious. I just don't like I don't like the idea of Mike doing it. And it just doesn't feel right to me. I don't want to. I'm rooting for him.
Explain. Well, explain why you don't like him doing it.
Well, because it's because you know what, Jay? I don't want to see Mike lose. Now, there's a possibility he may lose. And I don't want to see that. We've talked about this before.
Yeah, right? When my boy Sugar Ray Leonard got beat, I cried.
Right. What is the old saying? You should never pity your heroes. I don't want to see Jordan in 45. Right? I don't want to see Joe Montana not being able to throw the ball. I don't want to see Mike. Mike can hit. Mike can hit. All of these boxers, when they retire, they can still punch.
Yeah, right.
They can't get out of the way of anything. That's the difference. You can't duck or get out of the way. If you learn how to punch and know how to punch, you can always punch, right? And that's the old fighter's got a puncher's chance kind of thing. But it's the idea, I don't want to see Mike get beat. And for the Jake Paul of the world, the De La Hoya Cesar Chavez fight, it was one of the things that De La Hoya always regretted. Because he fought Cesar, he whooped Cesar Chavez's ass, but because Cesar was such an iconic figure, he looked back and said, I wish I had never did that fight.
Oh.
He wished he never did.
Right.
Let that man keep that glory. He too didn't want to see that happen to his idol. Think about when Larry Holmes, although the fight happened, and Ali, right? Yeah, fight. Tyson beat him up because of that, but he never felt good about that. He spoke openly about that. Now, I don't know. Why
take the fight? Don't do it then.
I don't know if Jake is a purist and he would have that same kind of feeling.
He's not a real boxer.
Right, but
an internet star.
It just doesn't. No, I disagree. I think he's committed to it. Like Jake's throwing punches and he's getting punched too. So I don't want to disrespect him by saying he's not a real fighter.
I guess I'm just saying that wasn't his real profession.
I think it is now. Listen, I don't know where it started or how, whatever. But when you're getting in the ring,
You're a real fighter now.
You're fighting, right?
Yeah,
I don't give a
right,
shit
right.
what
Especially
happened, right?
Mike.
Absolutely. So he can go in there and absolutely get hurt. So I don't want to disrespect the young man that way. Me personally, it really is all about Mike. But I'm praying for the dude.
So is another reason that you don't want it to happen is because, well, I guess you said it. So are you saying that you think that he's going to lose? Or it's a good probability that he will because of his age?
I think so if I were to, sometimes I do wagers. So I'm not waging on this fight.
Okay.
But I would be conflicted. And so when I'm conflicted, I never put money. I never put money on an event because my heart would go with Mike, but my head would go with Jake in this fight. And so when I'm conflicted, when I'm conflicted, I stay away from it. And reason being is because when Mike was at his best, and now granted, you mentioned about the rounds being less,
which is an advantage.
Right, it is an advantage.
Right,
but when Mike was at his peak, if you could get away from Mike in the earlier rounds, onslaught, you could kind of stretch that thing out a little bit, right? That was Mike at 20. What's Mike at damn near 60, right? And so I don't know if Jake Paul decides to grab him and hold him, and it could stretch out. He could outpoint him. That's what makes me now. Do I see Jake knocking Mike out and doing all other stuff? I don't know. I don't know if I would go that far. But could Mike get tired, as a damn near 60-year-old person would? Yep. Could Mike not get out of the way of some of those punches like a damn near 60-year-old person can't? Possibly.
I don't know how many rounds there are. I know they shortened the rounds. Do you know how many rounds there are? I'm not sure how many rounds there are, but I do know they shortened them, whatever the rounds are. So I'm hoping that listen, I got to keep it honest too. I was never a Mike Tyson fan. I'm not a fan of cocky athletes, cocky people in general. So I was never a Mike Tyson fan, but it's something about when athletes get older, I kind of respect them more. And then I feel for some reason I start rooting for them. The same thing I did with Kobe. And I feel like with this fight, I feel like I'm rooting for Mike, which is a first for me because I've never rooted for Mike. I've always rooted against Mike.
Well, like I said, we should not be pitting our heroes. That's where you're rooting for them, but there's probably a little bit of pity there. You feel it just feels different.
And why should we pity someone with Mike who has this money, who's had all this success and fame? Like, why would we? I think pity is the wrong word.
No, that's the term. It's pitying your hero.
No, you know what it is for me? Oh. You know that for me, I've always, and I don't know, and I think
the underdog?
Yes, you know that about me. Right. I always root for the underdog. So as soon as you shift from that cocky favorite to the underdog, I go right with the underdog, unless I really can't stand you. Like, I'm not a LeBron James fan. I probably would never root for LeBron James, ever in history. So I think that's where I am with Mike. I respect him. I've met Mike. He's cool, but I think right now, I think it'll be the first time I might be rooting for him because I believe he's the underdog, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, he may be. I just want this fight to happen and get over with, be done, and I feel I got knots in my stomach over it.
I see this going the full amount of rounds. I don't think Mike is going to get hurt.
Yeah, I do kind of see it going the distance as well, too.
Right.
Like, and so here's the thing. I think it either I think it goes the distance or Mike drops Jake. I don't necessarily.
Really?
Right. I could see Jake beating up Mike.
On points?
Right.
I could see that.
Mike, because again, I don't think Mike can get out of the way at that age.
I agree with you.
I can see Mike, like, Jake beating him up for however many rounds and then winning on decision. But I think if there is a knockout to be had, like someone gets dropped, I could see Mike dropping Jake.
You don't see Jake dropping Mike.
I don't necessarily.
Because Mike has been dropped.
No, he absolutely has. I'm not convinced of that yet. I think
you don't know if Jake has the power.
I think maybe over a length of time, maybe wearing him down.
Not a one punch knockout. You don't think Jake has that one punch knockout power
listen,
like Mike does?
Like Mike? No.
Yeah, well, nobody.
No,
right? Yeah,
like
right,
Mike.
yeah,
No,
right.
And that's not to disparage Jay.
No.
Right,
right.
Jake to me, and again, I don't know why people come down on him. I just think he had a certain brand, and it was difficult for people to wrap their hands and arms around the fact that he's in. But I think the young man trains for real. He's fighting for real. That young man will throw hands. He will knock the shit out of 99% of the people walking this earth. Right.
Yeah.
So I get that. I respect him for that. But he's also fighting someone in Mike Tyson who went through a lifetime from the time he was 13 of taking a punch.
Right.
There's you develop some scar tissue, no pun intended, to be able to know how to take a punch. You just do. It is different. I don't know if anyone. I have strapped on gloves numerous times. It ain't fun, dog. Yeah. You need to build up some tolerance for that, right? Yeah. Like I remember the first time I got punched, like for real in the face. Let me tell you something. I was like, get these motherfucking gloves on. Right. Coach, take these shit up. You know what I mean?
Yeah, right.
It's something to behold, man. So, yeah.
I hear you. Yeah, I just want it to be a good fight. And again, now the roles have been reversed. Jake is now the cocky one. Mike is the underdog. And that's where I don't like when people do that yin-yang talk.
I feel like he's trying to sell tickets, though.
Yeah,
man.
He's got to be.
Like he hasn't even been like that for his other fights. He's trying to sell some tickets.
But I believe he believes it.
I don't. Listen, he could believe something. I mean, he better. You better have that sense of believing it when you step in that ring. Because listen, for all we talk about what Mike isn't, he will still knock your head off. You better go in there, and I hope that's the Mike that goes. And so the other thing about Mike, I'll say, we don't always know what Mike's going to show up. Mike could just, you think he's going to go in there, raging animal, and the Mike of...
I think that Mike is gone.
Mike of 86. Yeah. But then get in there and start to being a little bit affable and just like, hey, it was just, then the post-fight, it's like, hey, I'm 58 years old, and I'm just, I just wanted it to go in there, and no, I don't want to see that either. Then I'm gonna get pissed off at Mike. Then you get pissed off, right? I'm gonna totally shift over to like, then why'd you do that?
Don't go in the ring unless you're old Tyson,
right? Like, or the best version of yourself, and trying to win and trying to win the fight.
Yeah, I don't know. He seems like at this time, I don't know. I mean, it just seems.
I hope so.
Yeah. I listen. At the end of the day, we just want it to be a good fight. I want it to be competitive. I don't want to see a knockout right away on either side. Well, actually, if Mike knocks him out, I actually would be happy in the first round. And that's very strange for me to say because I've never said that in my life. But I just want everyone to be safe. He is 58. I want him to be safe. Obviously, Jake's a young man, so I know he's going to be fine. He might get bumped and bruised a little bit, but he'll be good at the end of the day. So we'll see. That fight is Friday, November 15th, and it'll be a lot of entertainment on Netflix. Make sure that we all check that out. It'll be fun.
Yep.